mbadun mbal be konton na mba flala kanji be fine TV Gambia yo only viewpoint bi nata November 11 programme ni nata wole mabe bi ning alpha ba fele jami ya logo be lafla fon ya fon introduce ale then interview ni asna dati uh, be welcome la fine
ala barka ba ke fine TV mbal konton na alfana ya baraka
sa fono mole te mu jumale ti ani ti mu place le mara ni association ni
ntelamu November 11 Victims and Families Foundation la kiamanoti balo serikan
al flendi bi ale lungo jura isa fono mole mine bi lungo kumayan
bilongo la kumayendo wala mu nyinti ko November 11 1994 kule kata nyimbangun kan me alon ko amam mo kumpa bawo birin fondin ke jamal muta ye tumi ko kudeta lefta wala kala biri nara nyim fondin ke lumuta man ne nyininka ka foko mune mo alla daliloti wala ngala muta ntulu ko albe kudeta la bari itoliyam mutala dron iko ntulu po eta kudeta la man nyininka o kono yamuta ye dolu fa ye dolu bute fo dolu nata soronto sota kono
na jebe o fanan tata mol kono mini yalon ko o ko nyin kete nyala ite escape nyin ko to nyaadi
tum msafa doron ko ala la makoy rolom ala nin ako wato men mansi bawo birin yenta muta yen samba yundum baraks le dim futara je ngamol tara kaso kono kafu nyolu ngenyinenka ninga menyinenka kafu nye yemutan na suwala kono ko eden defana be sirin na bungul kono yemuta wolto yen samba nanja oto yala wayata nin tolla ko kudeta ta kerin dunta den tene mona manan diamu kafu ko bareta kudetal bari nga ñillon ko dia moma be kering wala mu ñinti ko so jarol nga banko tale banko kata ñame anin dalilo anin sartol mi antin nga banko ta o man tara tamakan to wakam mala o dia momen siata ngunu siata benno be ñaato kijo farata to le ñum ko ñu ka ñim menke kude talam yemol tumi wala la wala nata sabu nata muta biri yem muta fonden ke tang anen killing yemen dul fa me alon ko me nyininka manta kiti dulato e fa tilimbali ya kono tajirinte ya kono de ba bare wolongol fanan ngalon ko nyimbanko ala tinya dati taw wato la bawo kamol la yelo bon tilimbali ya kono e adimita dum bi benta jaw wala pour ka wolungo nyin pour hakilo si bulema ngamol fanan hakilo bulandi ko amanda nyinda don ka fo don bare pour nyin kamala ko yo tilimbali ya sifal nana kana soto kota ke Gambia o dalilu ya nan kanyin lungo nyin nga sitan ka jura ka duwe pour la jango ya damuta ala sa sone andi ala si beso arjana kallankela
ngalon ko ni mol mini yalon ko ye niol tate mol mini yalon ko perhaps al ni delta bakele ite sita ye mire la kola kori ga buke bondi no wato do
ila wanyinin karo beti ata bak bawo ye mem fotan nin sita wato dolu kambatan di bake bi fa ngamira al be nyabala birin diam wato sita mbe diam o ke kam ndata fo diam o fo tema dron ngaddati nyaaji bota diam mo man continue no fo are wati dan tansi ko la nata diam femte fo nyin kamala ko tilimbalia men ketela wol dolu be damento ni hadamandi ya ni men soto sambo warta bake butu nin wato dol nin sitan kam mirela ni ka tora bake ndung ngaje hani bi kumantara ke kan wala ko ndung bi fa on tolbe nyel lungo men jura kante mansa i man naje ndung safaro kele ni nga safaro ke ma fo ko TRRC post TRRC mo kumandi den ko mansakunda inyanta nala bari manna oto yaita ne nyin nako mansakunda man nyin kumandi nyin lungo nyanta kala banko bela sunu lungo lati bari ngamira nin ala yake alam mabe ko dol be keri ngol be balal baraka ba
anamu ko letaro safi army chief of staff ya bar amal jabi ci do man ni fu mo lewo
letaro safe sojarol la nyaton ko même mu lieutenant general Mamar Ocham nte fongonin Mamar Cham dolla be nun mile 2 yembe muta follungo mem fangi be mbula natal be damo ke kam bari nata je kibaro to ko atata Rwanda le atata dula jube mi alon ko Rwanda mo famen keta je nata yow ye dula de da woli pour mol kari mirala ka foje la memoriam tata woto jube bi nga tata woto jube nga woje nda fanan kuma ko ndol fanan na juralo fela sita nu sayar nin ko mo karebe na tema nata nga safaroke ka photo yala nga kije pour nyin kamala ko mfanan sitano yundum barracks bawo yenyi molu fa ye bade jele ko science sitaje mfanan ngal ko karon ka wali bari fo bi mbelungo jura kan man jabiro soto army chief of staff bulu wakata nyin ni ku ya balati ndung nganyel lonko nin ayataram be banko men kan ko nga hadama dingol la nyanto la bunya nyantam bulala pour nga alquano karan na moli men du tambita pour nyin kamala na duwa se futema
finally Mr. Kante nga jele 2016 ye ya jame bondi atata ameta manila for 9 years sai nga moy katale announcement ko min ka murona so atel victime lo keta tel bala nyaadle birale amo ya jame mi yalon ko a contribute alla nyin kafunyol la bon la sa atela fa kamuru ni banko kanja keta bala nyaade
pour yaya murna nyim bankun kanja dolde nte balan nala de bari ngalon ko ninga mina silol la me yalon ko bank man sakunda men be jang ninga be bol nan damento ani menu be tar la kunna anin man tora molo be nyanta nyo kala mutala ni yaya be dunna jang bawo tumirol le be laringa kan nganyim muta ko ninga mina luwa silol la luwa ya muta nyanda tar la marola kono tumirol mel lata kan ay ta yedan ko kiti bungola tol nga nyine muta ko yaya sinano nyimba ko kan wasilol la bari nimmen ka muta ko ite ya muta ko ela nidiya yaya mina wala jang ite be nidiya la kono yaya mina jamina nidiya la jang ata taman na jang men no ko fe ko talen ko mo def ndung hadama dingo dum fon ko mo adama adalati men lafta men fola ka wala fu bari ba man sakunda be nyim bankunga ndung ka follel be lorin jam men yalon ko hadama ngol la nyanto be wala jube kan ka follel fana be lorin ka men yalon ko men la hadama ya nyanto tinyata wala fana ka fol be jam woto ndol nga nyol lon ko ni yaya amina silol la me yalon ko luwa silol mu mbuloy la kan ngata mabod la to dula me yalon ko abe batula fo janni mbaki tin baraka
finally mune la final message danem be
bilongo benyim fengala bi mu lunnete me yalon ko lunnemu me alon ko nyanta kala banko be la lungolati amangen na kala tol dam mala lungoti bawo fonninke tang anin killing yewol mutal lung killing yewol fa wali yelo bon da banko kan nyanta kala mo be sula kolati pour ngalon ko bele nyanta den nanyul lungola nga duwa siyandije nga alabato siyandije pour nyin kamala sifa kana soto nyim banko kan kotake wala ma nyinte ko ka même for never again akana ke kotake abaraka
We are concerned about the delay in handing over the exhumed bodies of families for Muslim burial due to forensic ID that the government can still provide. Testimonies from survivors paint a harrowing picture of the chaos and brutality inflicted that day. Among them is a former Lance Corporal, Abdullah Yedabu, who recounts how soldiers were summoned to the barracks on the false pretense Among them is former Lance Corporal Abdullah Dabo, who recounts how soldiers were summoned to the barracks on the false pretense, only to be met with gunfire once assembled. Dabo recalls that he was accused of attempting a coup, an allegation he vehemently denies. He described how he was forcefully paraded naked before being shot at, managing to survive only by thinking death amidst the chaos. His account underscores the brutality and lack of due process that characterized the event. The following day, the violence continued. Orders such as late Lieutenant Basir Baro and late Lieutenant Dotfal were executed without trial. Reports indicate that orders came from Vice Chairman Sana Sabali, who allegedly directed that survivors be made to dig their own graves, a chilling detail that exemplified the extent of the regime's ruthlessness. These acts of violence serve to instill fear and silent dissent, effectively consolidating the junta's grip on power through terror and repression. May we have a minute of silence? Amen. The Chairman, National Human Rights Commission, Chairman, AVLO, the Chairman, WAVE, National Coordinator of the Victim Center, ladies and gentlemen, today we gathered to reflect on a somber and pivotal moment in Gambian history. The tragic event of November 11, 1994 at Fajara and Windham Barracks. This dark chapter is often remembered as a supposed coup attempt, a story propagated by the ruling FPRC regime to justify the brutal crackdown that ensued. Officially, the government labeled the incident a foil coup attempt, portraying it as a desperate effort by disloyal elements within the military to overthrow the government. However, beneath this official narrative lies a more complex and troubling reality. A calculated purge aimed at consolidating power and eliminating perceived threats to the ruling junta. The aftermath of that day was marked by widespread violence and summary executions. Loyal officers and soldiers, many of whom had served the country faithfully, were summarily executed without fair trial or transparent investigation. Survivors and military insiders have consistently challenged the account asserted that no organized coup was actually underway. Instead, they describe the events as a premeditated purge orchestrated by the ruling authorities to eliminate dissent and consolidate control. This perspective suggests that the events of November 11 were less about defending the government and more about removing individuals seen as obstacles to authoritarian rule. We are concerned about the delay in handing over the exhumed bodies of families for Muslim burial due to forensic ID that the government can still provide. Testimonies from survivors paint a harrowing picture of the chaos and brutality inflicted that day. Among them is former Lance Corporal, Abdullah Jedab, who recounts how soldiers were summoned to the barracks on false pretense Among them is former Lance Corporal Abdullah Jedab, who recounts how soldiers were summoned to the barracks under false pretense, only to be met with gunfire once assembled. Dabo recalls that he was accused of attempting a coup, an allegation he vehemently denies. He described how he was forcefully paraded naked before being shot at, managing to survive only by thinking death amidst the chaos. His account underscores the brutality and lack of due process that characterized the event. The following day, the violence continued. Others such as late Lieutenant Basir Baro and late Lieutenant Dotfal were executed without trial. Reports indicate that orders came from Vice Chairman Sene Sabali, who allegedly directed that survivors be made to dig their own graves, a chilling detail that exemplified the extent of the regime's ruthlessness. These acts of violence serve to instill fear and silent dissent, effectively consolidating the junta's grip on power through terror and repression. As we remember this tragic episode, it is essential to acknowledge the resilience of those who survived and to reflect on the importance of justice and truth. The event of November 11 reminds us of the devastating consequences of authoritarianism and the need to uphold human rights, transparency, and accountability in building a just and peaceful society. Today marks the 31st anniversary of the tragic killing of army personnel at Fajara and Windham Barracks on November 11, 1994. This solemn occasion served as a moment of reflection on the enduring impact on survivors, families, and the military communities as a whole. The event of that day remained a painful chapter in our history, reminding us of the sacrifices made and the lives lost. Survivors and detainees have endured both physical suffering and deep psychological scars, carrying the burden of trauma that persists to this day. Families of the fallen continue to seek justice, answers, and closure, holding on to memories of their opportunities for a collective mourning, memories of their loved ones with unwavering devotions. The gathering today offers a respectful opportunity for collective mourning, remembrance, and unity. It is time to honor those who sacrificed their lives, to reaffirm our commitment to peace and justice, and to ensure that such tragedies are never repeated. As we remember, let us also strive to foster reconciliation, resilience within our community. And finally, I want to extend my appreciation to NHRC for hosting this occasion for the second time. With victim organization for their support. And there to offer support to 11 Nov victims, and a great thanks to all of you. I managed to make it to this place and making the commemoration a great event. I will also thank Mr. Ture for the banner. Mr. Ture, thank you very much. Thank you all. Allah baraka, jërëjëf, jaaraam.
Teeri fukki fan ak benn ci réewi Gambia nekkul bés bu ñuy fàtte. Nekk na bés boo xam ne bokk na ci bés yi gën a lëndëm ci wii réew te ànd ak naxar ak mettit. Ci boobu bés lañ dajale ndawi réew mi nga xam ne ñu ngi féete ci kaaraange réew mi, rey leen ci rey boo xam ne kenn jàmbatu ci tawat, mooy li anglais cold blood, kenn jàmbatu ci dara. ñu rey leen ci turi ne ñii dañ pare woon pour daane réew mi, te fekk bañ ko gestoo ba gestu ko gis nañ ne wax yooyu yépp ay lay la rek waaye du lu am. waaye li taxoon ñu def ko it dañ ko def pour bugga nappa tiital ñi nga xam ne yaakaar nañ ne kéene gu mel noonu ci ñoom, ak jaambur yi nga xam ne ñu ngi bokkoon ci fànni kaaraange gi, pour buñ jote jóg sax. am na ci ñoo xam ne it dañ leen sas ne leen gasal leen seen boppa seeni bàmmeel. mu ne yéemu na ci soxori doomi aadama, ndax doomi aadama mën naa xiisi nii ba gasloo nit ki bàmmeelam ne ko yow lañ ciy suul. ba mu fa tolloona mënatu koo jàpp, jooy na jooy yu métti. góor nag su jooyee dafay fekk pexe jeex na ndax jooy du yombee góor ñaara ni ko yàlla bindee kon ci kaw loolu suñ toogee tey fii di daje fii pour di fàttaleku loolu axakañ def na li ñu war ndax bés boobu nekkul bés bu réew mi war a fàtte waaye nekkul bés boo xam ne it ak nite war na koo fàtte te bokk na ci suma sàkkuteef bugguma rek ñu koy fàttaleku waaye nañ jëf joo xam ne dina faj lu nu mel ba lu nu mel du fi amati loolu nag pour mu am foog ñu ñëpp ñu bokk baat gën a sellal suñ taxawaay di jokkoo bañ a umpante bañ àgg fañ jëm ci kaw loolu ñu gërëm itam ñi nga xam ne ñooy mbokki way loru yi waaye ak mbootaay mii nga xam ne ñooñu fi dalal tey di sàkku itam nag nañ doxal yoon ndax yoon rekk mën a sottil suñuy mbir rawatina ñi nga xam ne génn nañ àddina neexatuñ ju dañ leen fi neexal kon ci gàttal lii la Mbaalo Seydi Kane wax ci jotaay bi mbokk yi fii laa ko yéema
November 11 Victims and Families Foundation. Diamok kon ngande fo monto community killing pour ka dua ni yalon ko inyo tambita ni lungla 1994 kola ako mbijang pour kan hakilo bulandi ni lungla ni yalon ko akumata bake gambela tariko ko bayri kujawol min keta alung fajara ani yundum barracks ako watu dol kayim fo ko mini yalon ko manto so do nyito wol lafta nun kudeta le ken bara ko o kumo man sakunda min benun jang FPRC wolle ko fo pour ye tilimbali amin ke o molla ka o sansan e ko kudeta ye wole dada pour ka ke wayatuna ina pite kan yo kela ke tilimbali ke fa ako bari masakunda la kumoni ya landi official narrative ako koto ku jamaale boto mi yalon ko asi mo harmadu mi tora bake katum ya katale puru ibe etel bela sembo waran dan nyame kam moli mantora min yalon ko yeje iman aje ko wol tumado bato wol si la marloni batandino ako birin ko yin keta nata tilimbali ya ba nata ki akola ani farol ya mul fa andum mo jamale mantor tan min yalon ko wol so jaroti so jar so bellem ibe loren banko ibe la doko ke kan yo wolle mantora wo nyama ako min yalon ko dol tankata ko nyin kono wol man so la ko nyinga ka fo wole keta komin ko kudeta mantra plan kan wato mon kuleta dada wol ko ñim mu kuleti mi yalon ko ya tabile ya mira ya tamandi min be marlola wotumo pour ka ñin dol dabondi ila kuol kon anata ñin fo ko itel ila ka fo komin ye ñin fenko soto jiklate domandin soto ñin kuwo kono bayri min yalon ko ye baade lalto pour ko bondi ka furel min bondi isaje ke wuri ka furel min wuri isaje c'est baade min muslima ya silola do komin wo kul ñanta tamandri ñal min kela londo la karola abu ko wo manke hansañ ako min yalon koye baluta November 11 kono ako keta ñawendi ñama e baritel nata balu wo kono mo wo kilin ayo to fo wolam lance corporal Abdoulaye J Daboti komi woye foroke e sojarol kili ye kili barracks nin fanya kono la biri wol nata ye kido yele kan ke bum ako dabo yin fo ka fo ko yate tumi le ka fa ay kudeta le plan bari amanson ka fo ate wokel ako ya muta ka wurang a tannin fulo fen tabala a kenson ya bum bari ate nata kana nyaadi le aya fanki ko afata wala ya niyo kanan do abuko atela cedar kumo ay min fo e keta ko leti mi yalon ko ate afon ye jele to aya tandi manya jawya min keta nyin ko kono wolola ako o samo hanbi nyin tilimbal ya continueta dol min be ko Basiru Baro anin dot fal yol fanan fa ime kitindi fam ako kibaro le intande ko kafo ko kawni mi ya tunna yoke ko botanan vice chairman sana saban ko men wo kan bota wala ya mi yen fuko ya fuko min wala ya fuko ni min yalon ko kana itankata nyina ye fon la bade ila kaburo sing yune be kala wala kon ako ni tilimbali ya min ketaten dan tambo min keta ko wonyanta wonyanta silamu dundila molla komi APRC Mansakunda ye yinke pour que silamu dundi ila sa ye mol si silang ila sembola ye buleno ako mbijambi pour que ni ko ni ka hakilo bulandi ako woni na ako nyanta ngam fa hakilo bulandi min yalon ko itankata nyimma anin katilum sotoye ka kitiyo sotoye anin tonya ko nyin kono mi yalon ka bitilinde ko wonyanta kala ako November 11 ayin hakilo bulandi tinyaru bal min keta maral kurum koto wotumo anin nanato pour ka hadamadi yala nyanto ka wo sembentuya ka lankene maroke na kuol kono anin ka konti boroke isaje nsi na tundo nsi tilum sabatindi je anin Cairo ako bilam sanji tan sabanin kilinti kabri min faru kurum keta Gambia Army Fajara and Yundum Barracks waya jiki ko min demonin aben hakilo bulandla min kuwo minna hakilo sitara min yalon ko wolle tankata min kuwoma ila dimbayal anin sojar kundaɓe ako wolum hani bi wo adimin wara batal ni yatara misal fe tariko buko lamu abuko ala fanna chapter abuko komi soro min bikela soro dimin dimba am wallet so say aben hakilo fanam bulandla wole ye bata minke ye miyo la ye kulke banko to yale fo miyo tutawoto say wo mol min kan tawoma ani ye mini taye sindi blakli wol fana e mantorol minta kabirin balola diminto ani hakilo la miyo bira jawol yo nota auto bakel wol batandile hani bi o hakil toro ni toro o bolla ako dimbayal fana min yalon ko ifatuta kuwonin kono hani bi wolbe tilimole ñinin kan kuwonin kono ani ila hakol ani jabirol kuwonin kono kuwonin tambita ñamen ka kiskis ka kitiyo keje ay tilim isaje jabirol soto itel faranse kuwonin dafa si kuwonin dafa ila kanun tella min yalon ko wolle mantorata ñin kuwo ako bi ben ay sans binna pour ngam mira mol la min yalon ko wolle ñiwut la ñin kuwo kono nsi miraro ke anin fanam be nga kafu ñoma ako wato sitale pour ka buñadi mol la min yalon ko in fatuta ñin kuwo kono in yewtuta je anin fanam nga tandrike communauté be laftale ka tilon tamande anin tanko anin Cairo ko sabatindi kabri ñin tinimbal be botara ako bayrim bi jam fana hani bi in sakata ngambulo du ñobulu anin fanan koni tinimbal mini keta hani bi insi bo wol kono ngambulo du ñobulu na tundoto ako be kola abe NHRC tentula min yalon ko ke ma ko le wato pour ka ñin be mo jura ako ñinam sinya fulan jawti na be mo ñin ki jang abe tentula abe jeyila ay victime kaful fanan tentu ay jeyi ako la mala ko moti abaraka jerejef ajarama. So now we proceed with the next agenda item, and that is statement by the Honorable Chairperson of National Human Rights Commission. Honorable Chair. Yeah,
good morning, good morning everybody present here with us today. Perhaps I should start with Mr. Balo Sirikan, the organizer here, and I think the chairperson of the November 11 Victims and Family Foundation. Thank you very much for organizing this event. I think we have the National Coordinator of Victim Center here. We have Madam Siranda wearing very many hats and the Alliance as well. Then we have representative of the post-TRRC unit from the Ministry of Justice. We have a representative of the Reparation Commission present with us here. And Wave present. Priscilla, you're most welcome. Family members of victims, of survivors, and survivors present here. Colleagues from the media, ladies and gentlemen, and our dear able and dynamic Commissioner Imam Babali, who doubles up as a translator this day. And staff of NHRC, Executive Secretary, Dr. and members of the media. It is an honor for the NHRC to host this year's commemoration of 11th of November, a very dark and painful chapter in our nation's history. But we must continue to remember. I think that is very important. We have to remember. I think 31 years ago today, I think it's 31 years, a group of Gambian soldiers and officers were accused by the then military junta of plotting a counter coup. What followed was one of the most shocking acts of brutality in our country's history. Many were summarily executed without trial. There was no due process. Allegedly, you are right, and executed. Their bodies dumped in places like Fajara Barracks, Nambai Forest, and to this day, some remain unaccounted for. Others were tortured, detained, or forced into exile. These were not just soldiers. They were fathers, they were our brothers, sons, and friends. Their deaths left behind widows, children, and families whose pain has lasted for decades, 31 years. There could be no better place, I really believe, to mark this occasion than here at the National Human Rights Commission. Although I agree with you, Sarah, we need a bigger place where we can have more people attending. But this institution, the NHRC, is mandated to promote and protect human rights and the guardian of the never again promise. Our very existence as an institution is a product of the lessons from the past, including November 11th. We are here to ensure that no government, no security force, no institution ever again uses power to destroy life or silence dissent. To the families and survivors gathered here today, we honor your pain and your strength. For 31 years, you have carried this burden, demanding truth, accountability, and recognition. Your persistence has ensured that the truth about November 11 must come to light through the TRRC process. And today our courage continues to remind us that justice delayed must never become justice denied. We also recognize the importance of the Victim Center, the post-TRRC unit, and the newly formed Reparation Commission, institution like ESCAPED, Wave, and others in keeping this journey towards justice alive. The NHRC will continue to stand with you, to advocate, to monitor progress, and to ensure that voices remain heard. Yes, we have to remember. Remembrance is important, but that in itself is not just enough. The best way to honor victims is also through action, and speedy action, by ensuring that the rights they were denied become the rights we protect for all. We must therefore continue to seek the truth and identification of all those killed and made to disappear. We must support meaningful reparation for victims and families. We must promote reforms within our security sector institution to prevent a repeat of such abuses. And importantly also, we must teach our young people about these events, that never again is not just a slogan, but a shared national commitment. Ladies and gentlemen, the tragedy of November 11 reminds us that human rights violation weakens a nation. And I think we should learn from this. We easily forget. Acknowledging them is key, and learning from them and ensuring that justice is what makes a nation stronger. Our duty now is to make sure that every life lost becomes a lesson to remember of what happened when fear replaces freedom and when accountability gives way to impunity. I must conclude by saying to the November 11 victims and the November 11 Victims and Families Foundation, by thanking them sincerely for organizing this commemoration and keeping the memory alive. And all of you who keep the memory of life, from Memory House to those who are raising the awareness right across the country, from Kermot Alley to Basse to all over the place. And these are to our partners and colleagues and the media. We thank you for continuing to tell these stories and reminding us of our shared responsibility. Let us together renew our pledge that the Gambia will never again be a country where people are tortured, where people are executed or made to disappear because of politics or just mere suspicion. In conclusion, may the souls of those who lost their lives on November 11, 1994 rest in eternal peace. And may their memory continue to inspire us to defend justice, dignity, and human rights for all. Again, I thank you all for listening. Thank you.
mooy di wone solo boo xam ne am na ko ci ñu war a daje fàttaliku bis ni ki tey. naam fàttaliku bi am na solo lool waaye waruñ caa em. fàttaliku bi war naa ànd ak jëf. ci kaw loolu it war nañoo góorgóorlu ba saxal ne li ñuy wax mukk du fi amati. mooy lu ñu mel du fi amati, tubaab di ko never again. su ko defee nga xam ne réew mi du nekk réew moo xam ne réew mi ñu mettitale doomi aadama la te fekk teguñ ko fenn, di réeral ay doomi aadama ci lu dul seeni sago, di faat doomi aadama ci loo xam ne newul ci benn yoon. bii réew daal waru cee bokk. te it suñu wareef la ñu ñépp pour ñu taxaw ci. noonu it maa ngi bokk ak mbokk yi nga xam ne seeni mbokk loru nañ ci lu mel nii te ñu continue di ko dunde ñoom ba tey jii. tollu na léegi ci fanweeri at ak dara ñu ngi dunde bu metti bii. dinañ jéem lépp luñ man nag amal ko dayo ñaareel bi it dinañ góorgóorlu ba gën a góorgóorlu ci kàddu yi nga xam ne Aji Sira Ndaw wax na ko ndax amul benn béréb boo mun a amee fu gën a yello pour ñu am fa jotaay bu mel nii waaye li mu wax dëgg la mboolu mi war naa ëppal yi ba du fi xecc loolu dinañ ci jàppalante dimbalante ci dem am kon ci gàttal daal lii la borom kër gi wax. Assalamualaikum warahmatullah.
Pas National Human Rights Commission ay tariko demanding for November 11 bara jawo min ketaje fo mo jama fote niyolla komin o tamandi ta nyamin anya jaw yata baaki ani dol bade dulal to tarin komin wo konin dala nyama ni ya andomandi yo ay infanam foko abe victime tentu bari komi ka hakil bulando ke min kuwala wati ni wati ako betara ako fanan komi ni kana ke don komi tilum ni nyanta kila kuwol kono angay ka mi justice so justice komi wala mu tilumuti abuko luanya mi nyanta tamala nyanta kila nyaadile kabi luwala karola bang komi wo akana tarde katun niya tarde ta be kala komi wo nakartale tilum ni mi nyanta kila kuwo kono wo abu kala nakarunte yalti yofo so ay victim mini anko e mantoro so ko ni kono imila dimbayal ka foli mini lota wala pour que mako ke sembentu ya ay wol tempo baka ay jeyi ay aneket fo wala nyaton ko diam ta jam wave yo fana fo victim center sayin masakunda reparation commission fana lo ayo fana fo jam anin tomal komin ka fol komin ka katale pour ka mine man toro so nyin ko ke kan jam fandi ko nyin kono ayo fana fo ako ke mako wala miyalon ko ana fa warta pour que la ko lankene mandi saje mul salon min be kere ayim fana fo komin nyanta katala pour falindro eke na security bundalto ko kumata baki ayo fana fo anim fanan ka funding kel karandi never again ngalon wo kuleti miyalon ko wata ka fo wala kuma kanake kotenke ko miyalon ko malla fay ke kotenke kona kanake furo dammati bari komin ayante ko kelo kulti miyalon banko fo nyanta barla wala ayo fanan fo ako fanan adama dum la nyanto ni yatra ko akatinya wata katinya kuna aka banko sembo aka doyandile banko sembo aka doyandile so nyanta karannale ko min karandata min kul min keta November 11 nembang ani to ko tamul nyanta karanda so la jele pour as banko be nafa nyato isaje aku kana ke kotenke ay November 11 Foundation ay tentu ay jeyi balo sedi kan nala kafo mol pour ka ni mamango minke kamul hakilo blandi ko nyinna yo ay hakilo fanam blandi komin banko responsibility wala may ay dunomi be banko mol be kan pour kaje min kul kanake kotenke mbe nyantale ka do ka katoke pour maya jawol miniketa ikanake kotenke anata aya kumpani duwala duwata miniyalon ko ikato nolla pour alasi nemo jindika abaraka baki.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome and thank you for being here today. A day that I'm sure we all agree that is a day that we must continue to honor, and a day that we must never forget. not for anything, but to make sure that at the end of the day, it never happens again. November 11th is one of the most horrendous days in our history in this country, and definitely something that we would not want a repetition. So it is very important, this commemoration that we are having, and a bit of a shame really for me that it's really restricted to this room and not a national event. This is one of the days that should be recognized and should be commemorated nationally. Families have been suffering for over 30 years. We have had a new government for coming on to 8 years now, and really this is something that I hope next year we would not be sitting here, but we'll be sitting at a larger gathering countrywide, all over the country. Thank you. Just to be reminded of the people that lost their lives, so that we pray for them. I will list the names of the 11 soldiers who were, technically, I would have to use the word allegedly, right? Cancelled in this room. Technically, I would have to use the word allegedly. Yes. Lieutenant Basir Baro, Lieutenant Abdullah Dotfal, Lieutenant Jibril Say, Lieutenant Abdullah Bah Achompi, Lieutenant Bakari Maine Yancho, Lieutenant Buba Jane, Lieutenant Mohamed Lamin Dabo, Cadet Amadou Bake Sila, Sergeant Ibrahim MCC, Sergeant Basiru Kamara, Sergeant Pafanyan. We continue to stand with their families and continue to offer the support, and continue to work with them to get through. We also must always recognize the survivors. 11 of them were killed, but the survivors are here living with us as well. And we have Balo Sedikan among us, among many others. I think for me, I always reflect that one of the things that the TIRC did not really miss out was also really the emphasis on the survivors who have been left behind to deal with the pain of seeing their colleagues killed brutally, and also the torture that they have gone through as well. Really a sober day, but a day of reflection. And as the theme goes, a day of action. How do we turn this grief into action? Action for justice, action for accountability, action for healing, action for reconciliation, and action for never again. How do we do that? And this is a high time that we must concretize this action to support the foundation, to support all victims, to work towards healing, to work towards reparations, processes that are ongoing but quite slow. I'm sure we've talked about this, and see it mentioned by the TRC in the process. Yes, there is progress, there is movement, but can it be faster? You know, people are sick in their beds, people have needs, people are passing away, and people are forgetting. And it's important that we really don't delay justice. Everybody knows that justice delayed is justice denied. And justice really must stand for the victims of all violations in this country. And really, I think a very apt place to be as well today at the National Human Rights Commission, whose job is to protect, to promote the protection of human rights in this country. And we thank you for your support always. This is Dr. Kasama mentioned, this is the home of victims. We feel it. It's not in words, we feel it. National Human Rights Commission, from the chair all the way to everybody down, is always at the beck and call of victims. Whenever we call, they respond and are supporting us throughout. So thank you very much. And we continue to really work with them in the context of never again, because this is something that really must strengthen and make sure that Gambians never suffer this again. We call on all our partners, we call on the government to really keep the pace going, to step up the pace, and keep it going. The Reparation Commission is here, and we know that they're doing everything possibly they can, but they need the support to do the job that they have been tasked to do. They need the finances, they need the technical expertise, they need the resources to really move forward with the job that they are doing, something that victims have been waiting for a long time. The accountability mechanisms are in place. Yes, there are challenges globally, but what can we do locally as well? And I think it is also time for all of us, not just the government, to come together and look for practical solutions that we can do in the here and the now, and not have to wait for our partners to sort out themselves before they can sort us out. What can we do? How can we go about it? This is an action point that really we must do, because justice, we cannot keep, justice is already a very long process. If we want to wait, it will take much longer. Reconciliation, rehabilitation, restitution, these are all activities that are waiting to happen, and really calling on the government to give priority to the victims in the budget this year and the years to come, to make sure that we have the resources, the institutions have the resources that they need to carry out the job that they have been mandated to do. For the victims, it's been a long time. It is not easy always sitting here talking about this event. We thank you for your sacrifices, because it is a sacrifice. Every time they tell their stories, they are traumatized. So thank you for your resilience. Thank you for coming up, for showing up when we call. And let's keep it going. Let's not feel tired. Yes, sometimes it's very tiring, but let's not leave it to do himself with the system. But let's be there and stand up and be counted. More of us, the more the merrier, the more the better. Thank you very much, and we hope that from here, this foundation, Balo and your colleagues at the November 11 Victims and Family Foundation, will really start working on these action points that we will be coming up from here today, hopefully, and really keep the support going. Thank you very much.
at mi bu ñoo jagleel fukki fan ak benn ci wéeri fukki fan ak benn bile su ko defee fu waay mun a toll ñu xam ne xew-xew bii moo xewoon ci réewi Gambia ndax xam nañ ne njaboot yu bari loru nañ ci te njaboot yooyu loru ci ba léegi ñu ngi toog di dundee yaakaar naam pexe nga am ñu ngi def lu nekk waaye ba léegi àgguñ fañ war a àgga ba mun a jëriñu ci kaw loolu ñu ngi soñña nguuri réew mi ñu gën a farlu ci dimbale ñi nga xam ne loru nañ ci rey nañ ci seeni nit ak seeni mbokk ndax ñu mun leen jox ndàmpaay bi ñu yelloo su loolu passé yi ñu ngi gërëm kër gi nga xam ne ñoo dalal mbokk yi la tey di kër goo xam ne dëgg la saytu àqi doomi aadama moo tax ñu taxawal ko waaye emut ci rek yaatal nañ seen dimbale saa wuñ leen soxlee buñ leen wooyee ñu ñëw te sa baax kon ñu ngi leen di gërëm ci loolu ci gàttal lii la wax bu dee dañ koy tënk jërë ngeen
babali sambe min bota diam wala jam madame Siran Daw ate lebe min yalon ko min mantoro late kam ila kafol min be Gambia jam kafuta ye ka batinu dada atilan wala Sirantiyo sa diamta bitimol be to yala jam ayen hakilo blandi November 11 la min keta wolum mol min yalon ko e niyo tuta woto ay tol befo anin fanan anin foko min yalon ko imon torta wara ila family ila dimbayal man tota min ko min kono kono wol be sularin be sularin kono kiti tilon la tilon ke ko min kono ha tilon surata walla ni ko tilon jam le min fo ka wala mu wala bundato ka ko kiti o ke ay tilon anin fana ina ta jusuna bramul min fana sotla isol fana soto ako nkana sidron kabula kabatun doke kafo bandran kolle mina kama ko rodi pour ka ko ninte bari sem fang si jido ke ngal jam fang banko fanka pour ka ko min dol dafa wayo ay masakunda fanan nyinin ka ko isa kata ye fembundi depensoro banko la depensoro ka fa budget be bari budget ko rebe da kan sai ise fembundi je min yalon ko min man to la te kan isaje fanal si munafa ay wokola ay ene charge tentu pour kanyum be on njia bari jang abko mi fente yalla man to ta waranto ila jang to tinyata jamu blati sen walino wolbe yam jannit fay tentu pour kanyum ko ni ndoroni njia min fana min fana be mo tigi wollem November 11 Victims and Families Foundation all fana tentu ay jeyi pour kanyum programme mo tigi balo sedi kan la nyaton kayako
the chairperson of the National Human Rights Commission and commissioners present, leadership of AVNO, Mr. Randau, Victim Center, Mr. John Wave, Priscilla, who's present here with us today, representative of the post-CRRP unit, the November 11 Victims and Family Foundation Association, Mr. Sidi Khan, family, friend of victims of November 11th. I am Ganari Asin Jeng. I am the Deputy Executive Secretary of the Reparations Commission of the Gambia. First, I'd just like to share some words from our chairperson, who sent his apologies because he was unable to make it here today. He has another commitment in North Bank, which is why he's not here to give his statement, and I'll be doing that on his behalf. However, I also have sort of an easy task because I get to follow Chairman Duke's speech, and his speech was very comprehensive, and that makes it easier for me to just summarize everything you wanted to say. So for those who are not aware, the Reparations Commission is one of the recommendations of the TRRC. And our mandate is to provide reparations for the victims and survivors of the previous regime. That's people who went through human rights violations between July 1994 to January 2017. And I would like to take this opportunity to thank all of the victims' organizations from AVNO, Victim Center, WAVE, all of the organizations. You make up our key stakeholders, and you have been very helpful since we have set up the commission in providing us with information and making sure that we're sticking to our mandate and doing the work that we're supposed to do. Just so everyone also knows that we provide reparations in terms of compensation, which is monetary reparation. We also provide rehabilitation, which is medical support for people who need it, and also restitution, which can come in the form of educational support, etc., community support to victims' communities. We have a victim support officer currently at our office here in Porto. All victims are encouraged to come over to the office to provide us with their information to register. And if you need support, psychosocial support, as I mentioned, we have a victim support officer who's at the office who's always ready to speak to victims and provide you with the support that you need. I'll also provide our numbers at the end of this session if anyone is interested in calling us. Again, we're encouraging you and all victims who are not even present here today, so you can spread the word, tell them they can come over to our office or call us, and we'll take down their information for when we do start paying reparations. I'm not going to make a very long speech. I just intended to tell you about the Reparations Commission, but just talking on the events that we're on here today, the reason why we're here today, which is the November 11th commemoration. This is a very sad day, as both Sira and the chairperson have mentioned. It is a travesty in the history of the Gambia. However, I'd also like to acknowledge the fact that by being here today, it demonstrates the resilience of the survivors of the family. Because we understand that this is a very difficult process every year, having to tell us your story, recount these memories that are very painful to you. And we take this opportunity again to thank you for your courage and your strength for bringing these things to life, not just at the TRRC, but also yearly to remind us of the things that have happened in this country and reminding us that we need to make sure that these things do not happen again. When I walked in today, I saw the banner, and the first thing I saw was turning grief into action. And I think that's very, very apt for this day. And moving forward, we need to push for this action. And it's not just for the victims and the survivors and the organization, but for us as well, working in government institutions that are supposed to monitor the implementation of the recommendations of the TRRC, for institutions like the Reparation Commission, which is supposed to provide reparations to the victims and survivors. It's for us to keep pushing to make sure that victims get justice, they are afforded the human rights that they deserve, that our security sector is trained to maintain a situation where we don't have human rights violations and abuses, and that the state continues to create framework that prohibits human rights violations and abuses. So I think moving on from this event, as I mentioned, our doors are open at the Reparations Commission. We always want to hear what victims have to say and advice that you have for us. We are also very grateful to have counterparts like the National Human Rights Commission, who have been very, very helpful. And just earlier this month and in August, they supported the Reparations Commission to conduct victims outreach and consultation across the country. And I think what we'd like to see moving forward is more collaboration between our institutions and with victims' organizations, that way we can map out a way forward to implement our mandate and ensure that these things do not happen again. On behalf of the Reparations Commission, I thank you all for having us at this event, and I look forward to working with you all. Thank you.
man yaakaar naa ne suma MP du rëy lool du diis ndax mu ngi jógee ci jàmbur yi nga xam ne ñooy saytu mbiru ndàmpaay mi jëm ci mbokk yi loru ci xew-xew yu weesu mu ne mu fee teewal ki nga xam ne moo ko féete kaw ci wàllu liggéey bi bokk na ci li tax liggéeyam du fi niiti lool kàddu yi nga xam ne Chairman Diouf jottali na ko ci laay jël rek dexeñ ci li ma bëgg a wax bu ko defee mu yomb ak man lool bokk na ci loolu mooy ñu xamal nit ñi ne mbootaay bi ma jiite ñu ngi def li leen war jëm ci mbiru ndàmpaay am na ci ñoo xam ne ñu ngi leen a bàyyi xel am na ci ñuy toppatoo am na ci ñuy toppatoo ba léegi it balaa ma fi jógee dinaa fi bàyyi suma ay lim yoo xam ne man ngeen cee jokkook man ñuy téléphone bu ko defee lu ci nit bugg a leerlu dinañ ko leeralal ci gàttal daal xew-xew yi nga xam ne xewoon na fi metti na waral na lor bu ne ba tax na ñun itam ñu ngi farlu bu baax a baax di gis ne lépp lu ci nit eeyoo mu méngoo luñ ko cëral ci mbir mi dina ko am di métti lu itam ci yéex bi nga xam ne yéex na ci waaye du sago kenn ci ñi kon ci gàttal daal moom itam lii la wax di gërëm ñi fi teew yëpp rawatina mbokk yi nga xam ne seeni mbokk lor nañ ci mbir mi le assalaamu aleykum wa rahmatullah
diamola jang ay wala mo fo suwa county sainte ba fula mandi county General Yasin atilam deputy executive secretary wala mu reparation commission wala mu e bundani londi pour ka jus nyabol kunyal min be marri wala sayin commission ni lotale min ma deputy executive secretary wala bota diamola jang ika fayin General Yasin jeng ako waɓe jam la chairman to yala wo mannanu jang kato ay ben dole soto bolon kona bo wala na mannanu jang yo itella bundala do ko ay wala komi jusu nyabo kawo marawo kuwalla min yalon ko e mantoro soto komi afunta TRRC nyame yo ako mini on toro soto wala multi mini ayte ni wala ka do koke o ika jisnabo ike jisno nabu asike koroti asike no fana jara wala siloti waranto asi ku kata ko ni karam fodi no la karam kul ko bekele to ako ila office la bunda be le ren molle ne minyalon ko yimman to soto wato wati islamoji akabe ala numero bla jang Madam Yasin, can you tell us the number please? Acquire telephone number 72 okay 1 minute 72 000 000 okay 444 okay 34688. He said to come from wave. I didn't forget you. I know I didn't mention at the beginning. This is the right time. Although my chair acknowledged your presence, we are very happy to have you around.
Survivors and friends. On behalf of the organizing committee of the November 11 Victims and Families Federation and our host, the National Human Rights Commission, I stand before you to express profound gratitude at the conclusion of today's solemn commemoration of the tragic events that unfolded on November 11, 1994 at the Fajara and Yundum barracks. As part of commemoration initiatives, today we gathered to remember a dark and pivotal moment in Gambian history. We continue to express solidarity with survivors, families, and all those who bear the trauma and scars of that tragic day, reaffirming our resolve to promote reconciliation, transparency, and accountability. To the family members and survivors, we deeply commend your remarkable resilience and unwavering strength despite the prolonged delays in achieving justice, accountability, and closure. I thank all of you for your presence, your reflections, and your commitment to this cause. We also appreciate the media's role in raising awareness and spotlighting developments in the ongoing transitional justice process. To all who are here and those who are supporting from a distance, your dedication ensures that the memories of those who lost lives and those who are suffering and in pain continues to be honored. Thank you, and God bless us all. Amen.
moo doon jottale kàddu ngërmande gi mu ngi njëkk di wax ne mu ngi wax nekkal fi mboolem ñi nga xam ne ñu ngi yëngatu ci xew-xew yi fukki fan ak benn yi ci weeru fukki fan ak benn bi di gërëm mboolem ñi fi teew rawatina seeni dalalkat di National Human Rights Commission nga xam ne ñoo leen dalal te baaxoo it di ko def su may kàddu ngërmande nag duma ko mën a daytal mukk ndare ma tudd ñépp ñi fi teew wàccee leen seeni wàccuwaay yi te it di rafetlu ci jotaay bu ni mel di soññ ñépp nag ñu gën cee dogu rek ba ci kanam insha allah kon ci gàttal daal gërëm na ñépp waaye xaasal na ngërmande ñi nga xam ne ñoo dalal mbootaay bile jàppale woon ba bisi tey bi mun a antu kon ñun tam ñu ngi koy gërëm Adja Waaju Sekk wiir